Hello, everyone. So usually in the writing section in an IMSAT test, you are given a writing prompt, which you have to respond to. In the writing prompt, you are usually given a sentence or even more that will give you an idea about what the topic you're going to write is about. And then you are usually asked to write about a specific thing. Sometimes they will ask you to write about two different opinions, two opposing opinions. Sometimes you're only asked to write about your own opinion. Sometimes you're asked to write about pros and cons or advantages and disadvantages. What I simply have to do is two things. I have to start with paraphrasing the prompt, which means I have to say the same ideas, but I have to use my own words, because if I use the exact same words that were used in the prompt, I will not be given credit for that. And then I have to respond to whatever they ask me to write about here. So if I start with number one, paraphrasing the prompt, I chose to use the word whether here, which means if students in schools should be allowed to use the internet is a very argumentative issue. You can see here that instead of saying school students, I used students in schools in order to make sure that it's a little different. And then instead of using have no access, I used be allowed to in order to use a synonym for the word to make it different. And then I use the word argumentative because I can see that this is a discussion essay, which means it's a topic which causes people to have different opinions. So argumentative will be a good word here. And then starting from this part here, you can see that I'm responding or answering the question that they gave to me. So I have to mention two different sides of the argument or two different opposing opinions about this topic. I started with this one. Some people say that using the internet can make the learning process much easier. You can see from this sentence that I'm talking about people who agree that using the internet is a good thing. And I also, in the same sentence, gave a reason for this, but very briefly, which is that it can make the learning process much easier. Of course, when you go next, in the next paragraphs, you're expected to highlight this and explain it in a full paragraph. And then I move on to the opposing opinion, which is about people who disagree with this because they argue or believe or think that it can cause students to be distracted and less focused, which is a reason for them to have this opinion. And then I still have to mention my own opinion because I was asked to do this here. Okay, so I said, in my opinion, allowing students to learn using online resources is an essential need for all educational institutions, yet it should be monitored closely. So here again, I tried to use other synonyms. So instead of repeating the word using the internet or have access to the internet, I used here using online resources in order to rephrase. And then I also used the word or the expression educational institutions instead of using schools in order to make sure that I'm not repeating the word. And then I said, yet it should be monitored closely because all of this is going to be dealt with later in more detail.